Then from there, went to the East Coast and worked in Philly and New York and met a guy by the name of Howard Stern. And the rest is history. Howard had the chance to work with him for 26 years in building out his brand. It was just an incredible experience. The people I met, the things I saw, the learning experiences, it was just absolutely a phenomena. And I'm glad I had that chance to be on that rocket ride.
So Howard Stern, for over 20 years, were you in the studio when some of the crazy stuff was going on?
Oh, sure. One of the craziest things was, oh my God, I would get in the office at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd go through the rundown of what was kind of happening for the day and answer some emails. And my first call was to our corporate counsel, so we could go over, what was going to happen, and just kind of, this is going on, this is happening, this guest, this, whatever. And they, okay, check off. And one of them was Steve O from the Jackass guys, and he came in. And he said that he was going to go in the studio and light himself on fire. And I'm like, oh, God, and do a backflip. I'm like, oh, please, dear God. I said, Steve, you can't do that. I says, we have a lease. This is a company with a $6 billion market cap at the time, and we can violate our lease by you doing something like that. There's no pyro. There's no insertion. There's, no drug use, all that kind of thing. So I turned my back. He went in the studio and lit himself on fire and did a backflip. And I went, oh. So, it was fun. It was great, but I just didn't need that to happen on my watch.
So like every day, part of your routine was calling the company attorneys to talk about what was going to happen today and get clearance?
Pretty much, yeah. Just so they knew, they were aware of it, and that we were covered with releases and so forth. And Howard is really a buttoned-up shop. When you look at all of the things that have transpired around the, in the media business with like guys like Charlie Rose and Matt Lauer and Les Moonves and so forth, and you look at Howard Stern, where we had every freak and with this, that, and the other thing, stripper and all that kind of stuff on the show, and never an incident, never an infraction, never an HR issue. I'm very proud of that, as Howard is, and we just ran a good, tight ship, ran a good business.
Now that you mention it, and you mention the names that had issues and allegations or lawsuits or whatever, and you say, and Howard Stern never had any of that, God, you couldn't imagine more of a lightning rod or a magnet with what he was doing. What do you think the distinction was? I mean, do you think it's because that's what he was about, and if you were on his show, you're already kind of signing off on a sexual harassment, for example?
I think that, Howard is a very smart, articulate broadcaster and business person. We just didn't settle for any bullshit. It was, we were there to do business, and we were there to work. And there was a professionalism and an air about the business that permeated, throughout every department. And we all took pride in it, great pride in it, and it showed. And that's why the results are, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, he had an extremely successul run.
Absolutely. What about FCC? Any interesting run-in?
I didn't deal with it that much, as far as other than the language, things on terrestrial radio. We all had to deal with that. The 7 dirty words we couldn't say on terrestrial radio, which really propelled Howard to leave terrestrial radio and go to satellite radio, where there was more freedom, more creative freedom. And that was a challenge. It really was, to protect the license. My job, as others in the station, was to protect the license. That was the number one, primary focus of everyone, is to, protect the license and generate revenue and stay within FCC guidelines and so forth. So, but we were good at it. We knew what we could and couldn't do, and we took precautions in order to make sure that we were proactive and not allowing anything to happen. So it was buttoned up.
All right, so I got to ask, you got to know Howard for your 20 some odd years with him. You've known me for as long as you've known me. Given the same set of circumstances, who would have been better?
Oh God, that's a tough call. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed my time with Howard, and I really liked Howard when we get together, and he's a radio guy through and through, and exchanging stories and stuff. It's like two car guys getting together and talking about cars.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.